So we are going to the job site to Kathy's garden. It's a pretty decent sized footprint, 30 foot by 30 foot. There'll be multiple boxes. They went all in and wanted something that they'd never have to replace. So we actually are constructing it out of Trex composite and steel. So it is a permanent lifer garden space. Every client is different. I walk into spaces where they just want strictly a garden space and it's off to the side. They want to maintain their yard for their kids. And then I walk into another space and they're like, take up my yard. I don't want sod. I just want an outdoor living space. That's the focal point. And that was really where Kathy was at. Her kids are older and she just wanted to create a space to hang out in. All right, so this is a really exciting day. We just got our steel in and Corbett is working on welding it together. It's gonna be really loud. This is her backyard. They spend a lot of time up on the deck and their yard extends all the way out to that back fence. So they have a very sizable yard. When we were talking about the placement of this garden space, she's like, let's make it big. I wanna make it as big as possible so it matches the size of the yard. So you can see, it's a beast. We've gotten the perimeter boxes done, working on the inside boxes. We had to do a lot of leveling of the land on the inside because her land slopes so much. It's a really large entrance here. We're actually gonna put in pillars that match her existing pillars on the house. So I wanted to create a little cohesion in the design, and we're actually putting 4 anchoring pillars on each of the corners. These arbors over here that are laying in the grass, those will be connected with the steel boxes that are getting welded right now. So when you walk in, you'll have these 2 anchor point pillars, and then you walk into this arch. We'll have lights, Edison bulbs strung in the middle. We'll have pathway lights around the exterior. So the whole thing is gonna be lit up and you can see all this magic and all this beauty at night. Kathy and Brian wanted to put a hot tub in their garden area too. They already had this existing place for a fire pit area, so it kind of helps fill in this whole space. We'll be putting in some pavers around the hot tub to kind of give it a little jazziness, but this hot tub was literally just delivered today. How's it going?
Doing good.
Yeah, it looks awesome. You're working fast. So this is Corten steel. We get the raw material. He's welding the corners in, so it'll be a nice clean look. It starts out as this charcoaly gray, and as it weathers, as it gets exposed to the elements, then it starts to get really, what do you want to say, rustic looking? Very earthy, very Sedona, Arizona, Mara, like where you're from. So day 1 to day 100 will look totally different with the material. But the beauty of it is it never rusts through. It's a 1/4 inch thick material, and it patinas, so it naturally sheds and it creates this layer of protection for itself. Trex composite, this was a fun one. A lot of extra love and detail went into this perimeter box, given that they had a miter create 45-degree angle cuts on each of these boards, whereas a wooden box, it goes together a little bit quicker, a little easier. But again, a lifelong product you'll never have to replace, which is amazing. So in the center here, where that massive generator is, this will all be just decomposed granite. She'll probably rotate in chairs, tables, depending on what she wants to utilize the space for. So we're just creating a blank slate, a nice open area. The interior is 13 foot by 13 foot. All right, so you can see the slope of the land. We always build to grade. She actually has a pretty significant slope here. On that side, it's 4 boards tall. And then over here, on the back side, it's 7 boards tall, but everything stays level on top. And that's part of the construction process that's super important to us. We don't just come in and lay boxes on the ground and whatever the grade is, it is. We dig interior posts so that everything that we secure the boards to, it's perfectly level and you're not gonna have to worry about the ground shifting or anything falling. All the footings are concreted in. All the lighting is already set up here. We had to dig a trench all the way back to her house and install conduit in the ground and all the appropriate electrical materials to make the lights come on. We'll put in 4 post sleeves in the corners of those 4 steel boxes that are getting built right now, and then string Edison bulbs in the 4 corners. So that has to happen yet. Do you want to watch me weld? How do you do this? Oh, that's really tight. Oh, it hurts my brain. This is hard to see.
Well, you gotta lift it up. You're gonna hurt yourself. That's why people do that.
Okay. All right, I get my hands dirty too. What am I welding? That's how it's done. It's actually quite exhilarating. All right, one other key thing that needs to happen before this is all said and done is we have to get the organic soil in. So let me give you a little tutorial about how this works. So this gets filled up with dirt. They make a nice little ramp here. And it's installed. I'm impressed I didn't fall over there. So that's it for today. A lot of construction, a lot of live action. We'll come back and I'd love to have you check out the final product. So we'll see you in a few weeks. And we're back. It's been a couple weeks. We have wrapped up Kathy's project. So I'm excited to show you around and see how this beautiful space came together. Let's go check it out. To get from point A to point Z, where we are today, the finished product, this particular project was about a 2-monther. I remember we were spitballing all sorts of ideas. We talked about doing a garden over there, closer to the house. We talked about doing multiple rooms. And then this is the ultimate product that we landed on, obviously, is to have a couple layers of garden. That took about, let's call it 2 to 3 weeks to really hone in on the design part of it. And then beyond that, once we got started, it was a solid month for this one. So we raised the ground here a little bit to make this level, but these pillars turned out spectacular. They are really massive. They match the existing pillars on her deck. And we of course lit it up. So underneath all of the cap here, we have some spotlights going down. Kathy put up these beautiful wreaths. I love it when my clients decorate their gardens in the off season. We got the steel all welded together, all thanks to me. I'm just kidding. So you can see the corners are nice and tight, and it just provides a little bit of an earthy element to the middle. The posts got done. They are capped off, and we strung the little pops of light above. That's one of my favorite things about gardens, are what you can play with. For instance, this little guy, this little remote, if we want to turn those off, we can turn them off, turn them on, turn them on. It's just super fun to have a little lighting overhead. The granite is in this beautiful black twilight. It's called twilight, decomposed granite. We'll put another layer in the spring, so it will compact down. The big trellis is up, so she wanted to tie in a little bit more of a rustic look. We use the railroad ties for trellis posts, and then the header board matches the box itself. We have spotlights on each of these posts. As it gets a little darker, you'll see that light up. It'll be gorgeous. Kathy, she wants to blend together a lot of perennials in her interior boxes, but her vegetables that are climbing will definitely utilize this massive trellis here. The grid on this guy is 6 inches. It's really nice so that you can reach your hand through, grab your tomato or your cucumber or whatever you're growing. The intention of this material at Home Depot, for instance, if you were to buy it, is to reinforce concrete. So we use it in a garden application, but again, it's an awesome grid system to use, given that it's perfect to sneak your hand in and out. We plan on putting in some tomatoes in the spring here. She also loves spaghetti squash. Spaghetti squash will eat up this trellis, which is a really fun show. It usually vines through the header boards, the top two, and then it drapes over, cascades, it goes wild. This is a 24-foot long trellis here. It's kind of amazing how much space plants need to thrive, which is something a lot of new gardeners forget about. And myself included. When I started gardening, I would pop these tiny little seeds so close together, and then they start to grow, and you're like, whoa, they need a lot more space. So that's where I come into play. I have a little more knowledge, so I share that with clients. This little drain tile, this is important. So when water naturally goes through here, it'll go underneath the box and pop out the center and keep on going. This is really fun. We put in a fountain that she had existing. It was just sitting on her patio, not doing anything. She wasn't too thrilled about it up there, so we actually incorporated it into the design. So next spring, this little guy will have a nice little running water sound to listen to while you hang out. I thought this fountain had an ET vibe to it. When they were installing it, we were like, ET phone home. If you get an angle from the side, it's the ET fountain. There's a lot of options in our garden spaces that we build for lighting of what you can do. The overhead is the most popular option, just given that it's so romantic and it's fun being under the lights. That is remote controlled. So you can actually be inside the house and it would turn it on or off, and you can point it anywhere. I point it like at the lights, like you have to do that. You actually don't. You can point it down here. It's all censored. One thing that Kathy was really adamant about, she's like, I don't want to see any wires, which I 100% agree. So we took into consideration hiding the wires inside these post sleeves. There's a little gap at the top, and so we dug holes to get the electrical out here, and we piped it up through these posts, and so everything is hidden inside this. You'll never see the wires, so it's nice, clean look. The other lights though, the spotlights and the pathway lighting, these are actually called ledge lights. You can use them in decking, but they are a great application in our garden boxes. We just sneak them between the top and the second to top board. Those come on a timer. So they will come on, you can set it anytime you want, and that's it. You can set it and forget it. But lighting really does elevate a garden space. If you're considering a designer garden or elevating your own space, add some lights and it really takes it up a notch. Well, thank you so much for checking out Kathy's garden with me. This is my wrap-up project for year 3 in Homegrown Gardens. It's quite amazing to think about where I started back in 2020 and where I am right now. I'm living my best life. It's a dream, and I'm excited to see where next year takes us. But in the meantime, subscribe below if you have any questions about this project or others. Shoot me some comments. I'll be sure to respond. For now, peace out. I'll see you next year. Kathy and the squirrels, that has been a situation here for a long time. She is big into her yard, so she constantly has to battle the squirrels. So when she said she wanted to pop in a bunch of bulbs for the spring, I said, well, we have to make sure we do chicken wire for sure. So that's why we have covered up all these interior boxes with chicken wire, because the bulbs are in there, which will pop up in the spring. But we just want to make sure she didn't go through all that hard work of planting 400 bulbs and having the squirrels dig it up. They are very domesticated. They are not afraid to get up close and personal. I actually had a conversation with one of the squirrels here just to, make peace and try to, make an agreement with my creature friends, just so they can stay out of the garden space. I think it worked. I worked some magic on him.
What you doing? Hi. Are we gonna be friends? You have to stay out of the garden, okay? You don't belong in Kathy's garden. We make a deal? We make a deal?